Because I think about it a lot in the agency space. People will have like pretty strong fundamental assumptions and they'll be good and they'll be good foundational logic. For instance, they whip up a really good piece of outreach and then they send it to like 10,000 people. Then they don't get any results. Their fundamental assumptions are really, really good. And if they had persisted for a certain period of time, they would have seen results, but they always just quit too early, right?
It is true. Most people just give up. I think it all comes down to this.
What I find interesting is the vast majority of my subscriber growth comes not from like short videos that go viral, because then I get a little bump. They come from really, really long, like definitive guides that usually don't go viral initially. They actually just like taper off really quick. And then over the course of like 3 or 4 months, they end up dominating search traffic and being number one. And I think that's where quality comes out, really, right? Like if it's a definitive resource and it's consistently high quality, people can't differentiate that based off packaging alone. So you just get relegated, like every little piece of content does, to like some big hierarchy, some big scorecard. But like over the time, people start referring it and like referencing it and linking it. And then it's like, okay, yeah, you want to learn about this? Just watch Nick's 6-hour NAN course or some shit.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've been going down many deep rabbit holes. One of the insights from those rabbit holes are that a lot of channels, they unsurprisingly follow power laws where most of their subscribers, like follower sales, come from a very small number of videos. That's like the standard. And it is those very, very high long form videos that just gain traffic over time and they drive it in. So there's a big place for those definitive guides. I think the mindset of a 2 to 8 hour video, when you click on it, is almost like, okay, I'm buckled in, get that seatbelt lock in, get that coffee, get the notepad and pen. The mindset for which you enter the video is slightly different. Whereas if it's a 10-minute video, it's a snack size thing. Whereas if it's longer, you're kind of, you put it in this kind of separate category, almost like a course, and you treat it slightly differently.
That's true. I'm really trying to rack my brain to see what moves the needle on YouTube. I published 14 or 13 videos in the last month approximately, so about one every 2.5 days. And I found that I could have not published 11 of those, and I would not have meaningfully changed my subscriber growth trajectory. Then I looked at the ones that actually did move the needle, and then as expected, they are, like long form course style stuff. So I was just like, what if I just like cut out the 11 videos that suck and just took all that time and just made like really master classes, really well researched, really well like prefaced, really well done. I don't really care as much about the production quality. Obviously at this point, it's about like the knowledge and how actionable I can make it. And that's my strategy, I think, moving forward. Because yeah, man, I've just seen like low sub growth across the board. It used to be really high. Yeah.
Is subscriber growth the goal?
Yeah. Subscriber growth is definitely the goal. Yeah. I was optimizing for revenue before and I crushed it and I did really well. But now I'm like, okay, like I have enough revenue. You know what I mean? Making enough money, that's fine. What I'd really like is just to be like the trusted source for information on this topic. And I think the way you do so is just accumulating a big group of people that watch you regularly. Think about, I don't know, man, like think about like streamers and stuff like that just like record really long form stuff, just talking about various topics and whatnot. Like a lot of the time when a news thing happens, you actually don't even go to the primary source anymore. You go to people like the streamer, right?
Who are going to react to the source, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, well, let me filter my own belief through the lens of this person because I trust them to make good decisions.
Interesting. I love that. I was flirting with that. I'll tell you, so my strategy is I've deprioritized a lot of other things and massively reprioritized YouTube. I am recording a video a day that has its push, and I've got into a really cool flow and cadence with it now. And what's really fascinating to me is that people don't know about you anywhere near as much as you think they do.
Yeah.
At all. Because I had a guy pop up on my homepage, and maybe everyone listening can resonate with this. I'm like, oh yeah, crap, where the hell is that guy? I haven't seen that guy in ages. And I clicked on his channel, and he'd been like posting, actually, but I just never seen him. And then it occurred to me, like, I had a look at basically how often I was posting and how often a lot of people who were getting like really high degrees of momentum on the platform were posting. And I was like, okay, I'm just not actually posting enough. So that was one of my takeaways. And then I've been looking very deeply into kind of almost romantically the science of YouTube and what drives behavior. So I've been looking at a lot of really interesting niches, way outside of AI. And that's been really fascinating to me to kind of, and I like in my process now, I'll sit down with a channel and I'll just kind of think from first principles, why is this a 5x outlier in this finance niche? And it's just been really interesting to do the psychology of the click and put like 90% of the effort into the packaging and the intro, which is really interesting. So I'm in a bit of a volume phase at the moment, Nick. And then I think once I've kind of blasted through the volume, I'll reevaluate. I may go down towards fewer, higher atom bombs with it with the content. But I'm in a pepping them out right now, I think. But here's the thing: I've built a kind of interesting checklist in my mind of what every video has to be.
Okay.
The expected utility. So what you're not going to see from me is a video on NA102. For example, even though that will get a click, it's like it gets a click, but at what cost? I just don't. It's the biggest nothing burger on the planet, and it's just like I was like, no, I can't do that. So that's kind of where my line is. It's got to be new and it can't just be. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm trying to position. You could, I mean, it's the easiest content in the world to make, but that's kind of where I'm kind of positioning it, I think.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I think you making that decision versus choosing to do it, being a reporter essentially, will yield you fewer views and impressions and probably short-term subs. Then it also gives your brand a connotation as like, hey, I'm not a reporter. I'm somebody that actually produces valuable, actionable content that's evergreen, doesn't just last this week. Because like, let's be real, the view rate on something like that is very front-loaded. And so it'll look like it'll do well. And then it's also just like, oh, okay, so we hit like 20K in a day, and then it just like goes to zero after because no one gives a shit anymore because now we're on to V3, V4, V5, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, I feel like there are trade-offs. What I've come to realize is there are multiple paths to success, right? But if you look at those big streamers that are posting pretty constantly, like the guy that electrocuted his dog.
Oh,
I forget his name. Hassan, yes. I think he's
all
on
I know
Twitch
him
and a couple
for.
of
That's
those.
all.
Yeah, I know. He's the fucking political guy that just electrocutes his dogs.
Jeremy, pull that up.
Jesus, what an asshat, huh?
I know,
Anyway.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, when I think about him, like his big thing is like presence, right? But then I think about like a bunch of other channels, like that guy, the Outdoor Boys or something like that like goes to like the Arctic with like a little seaplane and then like sets up shop. He doesn't publish every day. He publishes once in a blue moon. I think he doesn't publish anymore at all. And he does really well too. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is multiple different paths. And I think that's the diversity of human attention at play, really.
It is. There are so many different pathways to success with them. There's no overarching strategy. Dude, did you see the podcast with Jensen Huang on the Joe Rogan Experience?
No, I didn't. I'd love to have, but I did not.
Honestly, bro, he's my new favorite entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I was, dude, it was like 1:50 and I was like watching this podcast and I was like, I have to go to sleep, Nick. And I was like, and my girlfriend was like trying to talk to me. I'm like, no, I need to listen to the story. This is so good. I couldn't put my phone down. It was fascinating. And like, I took a couple of things from that. I won't spoil it for anyone who's watching, but this is really fascinating to me. The fate of NVIDIA hung by a thread on several occasions. And what was really interesting with Jensen specifically is that he always reasons up a problem from first principles. And that's something that I think everyone listening to this podcast has heard before. It's something that you and I talk about a lot. But for me, it was the logical way that he approached his business decision making, where he was like, well, look, do we believe this to be true? And if we do, then it shouldn't really matter. ABC shouldn't matter because NVIDIA built a product that no one wanted or asked for.
Yeah.
Years ahead of time because they really believed, reasoning up from first principles, that this was going to be essential. And they were completely correct. Obviously, they had to go through the Dragon's Den to get there. But it was just fascinating how he made his decisions and how he approached business. And then on the personal side, he was like, dude, I'm living in a constant state of anxiety. He was like, it's like, even today, he's like, honestly, even today. Like, and he had this expression like 30 days till we go out of business. And he's like, even now, it's still 30 days till we go out of business. And so he's still constantly driven by this anxiety stuff. So it is an amazing podcast. Like I couldn't recommend it enough.
Yeah, that's great. On that last point, I've come to realize that like a lot of people that have made large like civilizational scale impacts, they're basically trading their blood cortisol for, impact. And a lot of these people just aren't very happy. And that's just part of the trade-off that they've made. They, at some level, I don't think they're naive. I think they just realized like, well, I could be happy and content essentially with where I'm at, or I could be constantly at the edge of my chair in a state of anxiety and panic, but, significantly improve the quality of life of my brothers and sisters on planet Earth through GPU tech and shit like that.
Through GPU
I mean,
tech.
I'm sure Elon has thought about that. I mean, the guy's like fucking the most hated business person on planet Earth right now.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? Like, think about why is he still doing anything? Jensen Huang, for sure. Like, all of these guys could have retired a million years ago and then went to live on some island somewhere. Maybe not that island, but some island. With umbrellas.
That island, maybe that island. Who's to say what island? Yeah. I don't know anything about that island. Great guy. But I agree. It's like, they're doing it for the love of the game, bro. They're doing it because they're driven by the mission. But it was just cool for him to be super honest and say like, dude, I'm still super anxious with all this stuff. I still feel like it's all going to collapse. But when it's so far from the line, but like it's this entrepreneurial thing for like entrepreneurs where the line always feels like it's a foot behind you at all times, even though it's not sometimes. So really, really interesting. I think a lot of it, he's solving a really huge problem with the chips. But the whole background and story is so fascinating. It kind of emboldens you to take more risks, actually, because it's easy to forget. Like you have got to take risks. So it was very, very cool.
Another thought I had, which probably won't resonate with a lot of people in the audience, but I hope will resonate with you, is this idea of like these large civilizational scale plays, and like the idea of like venture capital. So when I first learned about venture capital and like the idea of like massive business plays and like Ubers and that sort of thing, right? Like these massive $billion platforms. I was always just like, if I was a venture capitalist, why the hell would I invest in like, 500 companies with the hope that 0.1% of them could be $1 billion thing? Like I want more conservative returns that are much higher likelihood to actually be correct. This is like a statistical thing, but it's the idea of expected value. What is the magnitude of outcome multiplied by the probability that that outcome will end up correct? So the way that I see it, the likelihood of an Uber style business I'm investing in actually making it is like 0.0000001%. And the magnitude of the outcome, if it does, is like $100 billion or whatever, so it's cool. But you just do the math and it's like, my investment here probably isn't going to make as much money as if I invest in something that's maybe like a $10 million style play, but that has like a 50% chance of working.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, why the hell do people do that? Like, why don't they just like, private equity type stuff, like reliable, dependable, boring businesses, roll them up, do some big sale. And I've just come to realize that like when you are playing at like the level that these guys are, like Jensen Huang, for instance, or Mr. Musk, or whatever, all the other entrepreneurs here, those two obviously get the most note, but it just doesn't really matter anymore, right? Like what is the difference between, $150 million and $200 million realistically? It's like, yeah, if I invested conservatively, I could make an additional $50 million and go from 150 to 200. But does anything change in my life? Does anything really change the scale of my impact? No. The only real thing is when you go from 150 to 150 billion, 150 million to 150 billion, 1,000x. If you view any accomplishment from a sufficiently high vantage point, that accomplishment rolls down to zero. If I'm on top of the Empire State Building and there is some dude and the dude is levitating and he's levitating 10 meters above ground, I can't tell because that means nothing to me. I don't care that man's levitating. The only thing I care about is like, is there somebody that's 10,000 feet in the air, right? That's the play that I'm going for. And so that's why, Elon Musk is on a fucking Twitter storm right now talking about, Kardashev type 3 civilizations and like constructing satellite Dyson spheres. And everybody's like, what the hell is this guy thinking about? What, are you kidding me? He's like, well, it just doesn't matter anymore. Nothing except for this actually matters. So I can kind of understand it.
That's really beautifully put. I think the emotional matrix is consistent at whatever level you're at. That's the thing that doesn't change. The anxiety, the desire, the drive, the urgency, I've never had heart palpitations. I know some entrepreneurs have had heart palpitations, but whatever the range of symptoms are that is unique to your characteristic are not going to change. They were probably consistent when you were a tenth of where you're at, and they'll be consistent when you're 10 times larger. That, I think, they call it the hedonistic treadmill, right? This idea that you have huge bumps up or down in your living standards, but generally speaking, your happiness will equalize and be consistent, regardless of your level. I guarantee that Musk is probably no happier now at 450 billion than he was at 45 billion or 4.5 million or whatever. So I think that's really interesting to me, that you've got this kind of standard almost baseline happiness, and then realistically it's about how you kind of think about it. So I would agree. I do think for me it makes me think a lot about making very large long-term bets and being in something that has extremely high long-term upside. And I guess everyone just kind of graduates onto the future of the world, right, bro? Like at some point they're talking about rockets, interplanetary civilizations, and what are you doing? Like, well, I don't know. We kind of automate a few things, and they don't have to look at as many emails now.
Upgrading my CTR by 0.1%.
I don't know, man. Maybe we've seen numbers up. It was pretty cool. So it's fascinating, and you've got to keep that in your mind, right? Because it's very easy for the tail to start wagging the dog.
Yeah.
If you're not focusing on it.
If you think about it though, like you're actually positioned extraordinarily well, Jack. Like I think both of us are. If you think about where Jeff Bezos was in his early 30s, hypothetically, this man that has clearly now like fundamentally altered the path that the world is on, you're much better off financially than he was, which is interesting. You've generated more capital, generated more revenue. You've influenced more people, influenced more lives. You are like by any even consideration, like thousands of miles ahead of where this man was at an equivalent time in his life. Think about it with Elon Musk as well, and all of these other really big entrepreneurs. I had a rabbit hole, and I had AI compile just because I kind of wanted a little dick measuring contest. And I was also kind of interested. I was just like, well, like how, where were all these guys at my age? Yeah. And then I went across the board, and obviously technology is not very different, and so it's not one-to-one. But it did like make me feel, I feel like I'm very like I'm in the arena, like 20 years from now, I could be one of the people that everybody's looking at, having conversations like this, talking about whatever the next stage is. Maybe by the time we Dyson sphere the sun, it'll be about Dyson sphering the center of the galaxy. Like, you know what I mean? That's the level that you're playing 100%. At right now. You just don't realize it yet because obviously we're where we are.
Yeah, you don't judge yourself by the yardstick of your years.
Yep.
You're holding yourself to like the final form. I mean, like statistically, people like again, if you're looking at it from an income point of view, really hit their maximum income in the mid 50s, I think, because they get all the compounding value of everything they've built decades before. But it's like the weird value that everyone forgets is that the work works on you as much as you do on the work. So you become your income always trails several years behind your capabilities. So you never get a true one-to-one reflection of that. And you probably become someone who's going to earn a lot more money, but the reality hasn't caught up yet to your capabilities. That's often how it always works. So, which I think is really cool and learning. I mean, I always keep notes of the amount of times I cringe at myself as a good barometer of how much I'm growing. And if I'm not cringing enough, I'm not growing enough. So if I look back like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Like, it's a great sign that you're heading in the right direction.
That's awesome. I liked your point on the fundamental, like, first principles logic, because I think about it a lot in the agency space. Like, a lot of the time, as you mentioned, there's this market lag between, like, when your intentions and your actions and the results. Like, a lot of the time, people will have, like, pretty strong fundamental assumptions, and they'll be good, and they'll be good foundational logic. For instance, like, hey, I'm going to, they whip up a really good piece of outreach, and then they send it to, like, 10,000 people, and, then they don't get any results. Foundationally, like, their fundamental assumptions are really, really good. And their logic is good. And if they had persisted for a certain period of time, they would have seen results, but they always just quit too early, right?
Yeah.
So I read this once in a book. It's this really interesting book called Crystal Society, where like this like super intelligent AI is trying to like bootstrap itself. And so it sends like 10,000 emails. It's actually literally like it's an email thing. A bunch of cold emails to like development companies to try and have the companies build him something. He's trying to like lie about it. Anyway, long story short, sends 10,000. He doesn't receive any replies in the first day. And there's this line in the book that's like, I have yet to receive any replies. This may have disincentivized like a human, but I'm confident in my foundational logic, so I will simply continue, or some shit like that. It was just so simple to me, and I was just like, oh yeah, right, because that's what we do. So it just kept doing it, and then the next day it received like 400 replies or something. It's all just stats, right? Just noise. Yeah, it was super cool, man. You should read that book.
That is fascinating. It is true. Most people just give up, which is, I think it all comes down to the strategy. When you reason it from first principles and you're thinking about, you almost build the test case of like, what would be undisputable evidence that this doesn't work? The null hypothesis. And it'd be like, well, we would do ABC, we would reach out 5 times, to a sufficient number of individuals, which we determine as size X, over Y period of time. We'd iterate through Z offers. And only then would it be extremely unlikely it doesn't work. And then you're so right, bro, is that you can actually have the correct strategy, but that's not enough if you're not great on the input. And you can have great input and bad strategy, which is almost worse, actually. Because that's where you enter the valley of despair, where you're working hard, but you're spinning in a circle. So it was funny. I remember, I was skeptical of these roles. Like, when I was working in corporate, so I'm head of strategy. Like, what does that mean? And it's like, he had this one liner he'd throw out every now and again, which is was something like, a high degree of aptitude on bad strategy is worse than the other way around. And it was this idea that, because if you've got a bad strategy, it actually doesn't matter how good you are because it's garbage. So the strategy's got to be right. But then most people won't execute it anyway. So it's like the classic, you could have put Waze on Google's desk and they wouldn't have done anything with it because it's not about the strategy, it's about the execution. So I think it's a great way to think about it, man. Yeah,
man. The entire time you're talking about that, I'm thinking about like the first 3,000 doors that I knocked on. I had no strategy, and it was just like I'm not going to call it a complete and utter waste of time because it built a lot of emotional resilience in me, but zero output, like zero. I didn't have a contract. I didn't have like any sort of like marketing package set up. If I just sat down and actually like looked at what other people were doing and like pre-validated some strategies, probably would have went like 90% of the way there. My foundational assumptions were not good. And then I just shat out 3,000 pieces of outreach.
It's one of the reasons I'm really grateful for our friendship, man, because we can challenge those assumptions in each other. And it often comes back to this idea of, when the 4-minute mile got broken? No one had ever broken it. They said it was impossible. And I think it was the year after somebody broke it, they were like, I've forgotten my number. Maybe Jamie can pull it up or something, but we had like 11 people broke it the next year because someone showed that it was possible. And nothing changed about reality, just what you believed was possible changed. And all of a sudden, they did it. So I think that's fascinating. You got to really push on that, I think.
It's not against the laws of physics. You can do it.
I agree. That's got to be the standard. That's got to be the standard we hold ourselves to, man. Is it against the laws of physics?
When are we going to play Halo, Jack?
You know what? Let's do this right now. Let's actually lock down. When do you want to play? Because we need to do the campaign, right? I've got it down. Okay, just everyone listening, by the way. All right. So I downloaded Halo onto a Windows laptop, second biggest mistake of my life. And I'm not joking when I say like we've built full like systems in less time than it took to troubleshoot something on a Windows laptop. Like, I'm not joking. I got stuck in a death spiral. I won't bore you with the details because it'll just enrage you more about Windows, but it cached a fake login attempt. So I entered a random email address, didn't work. It's great. Well, we need to validate your number. I was like, great. But then I couldn't remove the email. I got stuck in this loop, Nick, and I was going back and forth. And I'm like, it was fine. It was funny for 10 minutes, but after an hour, Nick, I was like, I'm in the terminal. I'm like refreshing it. I'm deleting software and it just won't fix. And so I actually ended up moving completely to a different software just to fix. I almost bought a new laptop, and that's where I got to with it, mate.
Damn.
Like, crazy. So a very long, circuitous, non-direct answer to your question. Let's do it this week. I think we should complete the campaign before Christmas on a hard difficulty mode.
Hard?
Okay. Legendary.
No, I mean, I think hard's good because you wanted to go extreme difficulty, right?
Well, let's look at the difficulties, right? Let's have a look at this.
Oh boy, here we go. Jack's going to choose like Death Ultimate Limited Edition.
So
you die in Halo, you die in real life.
That's it, yeah. And then like your lineage is wiped out as well. Like that's it. Like
we murdered 7 generations of your fam.
You deletes your YouTube videos, dude. Your digital legacy's gone. Like
every time you die, $1,000 is subtracted from your bank account.
Minimum, dude. That's exactly it.
That'd actually be a really fun challenge.
Can you imagine? Yeah, like the stakes have never been so high. Well, you can get legendary, but you can get skulls, which does stuff like removes your reticle, so you can't see where you're aiming. So
man, screw that. That's man, I need that reticle, bro.
Okay, I suggest that we actually just complete it on heroic or legendary to get started.
Heroic? Is that harder than hard?
You got easy, normal, heroic, and legendary.
Okay, heroic is the hard, to be clear.
Yeah, I think legendary. I mean, like I'd be up for legendary, but I think legendary would be at the point where we would be locked in. Like we would be like, girlfriend walks in and, you wouldn't say anything to her type of thing. You'd be like, bring
Well,
me
that's
the Red
already
Bull or not. So like,
I
yeah.
already
So
do that. Yeah. No, fair enough.
yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm game to do this. Do you want to do Halo 3? Do you want to start from Halo 1? Because I think we could do all of them.
I agree. Well, Halo 3's biggest memory for me. So I'd love
Okay.
to do Halo 3,
Let's
and then
do
we can
Halo 3.
they can all get it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
why
I'll
don't
be
we
the
do?
arbiter.
Okay, we'll stream it for the people so they can see us crush it. Do you want to? We'll do Friday.
I mean, I'm game to do Friday if it's like around this time. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometime
All
like
right.
the
Sweet.
2-3 hour window of approximately this time.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I'll ping you on WhatsApp. We'll start that out. But we've
Sounds
got
great.
we have to do it. It's key. I think,
Dude,
actually,
if you're game, I would actually be game for like a full day marathon. I don't know if that's at all possible because of, of our time zone differences and stuff, but like I could wake up at like a ridiculous time, like we could push it in and then we could just like, we could bomb through like an 8-hour.
Well, dude, let's think about it. Does that defy the laws of physics? Defy laws of physics. I think it's possible. Now. I checked the math checks out. I think it's possible.
All right.
We can quick that out.
Well, let's organize that. That sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you're not allowed to leave the room
Piss in little
until it's
bottles.
complete.
They have to be translucent and in the background too.
That's it.
You have to see them pill up.
What's Nick shuffling around so much for? What's going on over there? Like, no, there are too many questions. Like, he's gone dark for a minute. We'll figure it all out later. Like, dude, it'd be so sad. Actually, I was looking at so yesterday we were having to think about games for Christmas. We downloaded Mortal Kombat 1. Have you seen that?
Like the game, like OG old school, or
mate, it's like the latest home. Okay, have you seen The Boys, the TV show?
Yes, I love The Boys.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah. So I got the Homelander, which is cool. So I've got him as an unlockable character now. It's very, very cool. But dude, I was playing it, and it wasn't classic Tekken where you could just like spam like Harawarong's like spinning kicks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a game of actual skill. And I did kind of like, I stopped and I was like, I don't think this is a game you can play casually. I actually think like you either play or you don't play this game, because like it's like these like move lists and like specific combinations. And I was like, one of my buddies, Adam, I bought him for Christmas last year, Dragon Ball Z Ultra Sprite, whatever the game's called. And he said, dude, I got literal carpal tunnel from playing that game. Like it's like his hands were like seizing up and stuff like that, because the button complexity is crazy, and he's like really extracted like 20-minute battles, Nick, where they're like sweating, and like if you lose they rage quit, and if you win you're like shouting, and like you get really invested in it, which I think is so freaking sick, because you can't get the big victories unless the lows feel net bad. If you're not invested and the lows don't pee you off, you're not going to get those big rewards.
That's true. That's why we should host a Soul Calibur 4 tournament where the loser loses $10,000 every game.
Oh my gosh, dude. I'd be down for that. I've never played Soul Calibur, so I'd have to ruthlessly prepare for that like crazy.
Kind of similar. But there's this one character I remember that where I was like a kid. I must have been like 13 or 14 or something. And it was just like what you talked about. I actually had to like get a PhD in how this guy worked and like fucking punch. It was crazy, man.
Damn, yeah. But they ask a lot, but it's cool. I've noticed a lot of the big games right now, because I'm a really big fan of couch co-ops. I think they're really good to play like in a relationship. There's a great game called It Takes Two. And the concept of this game is there's this like girl and her parents are arguing. And they're not in a great place. And she has these little clay models of her parents. And she's like, I know lightning strikes a house, some kind of event happens, and the kind of spirit and energy of the parents gets transferred into these dolls, right? And the whole concept of the game is these two dolls, it's a 2-player game, have to complete a series of quests and challenges. And there's this big, beautiful story and journey about their relationship, and they learn different things about each other. And it's about, can they repair? And it's like really interesting, and the game's very fresh. It won Game of the Year, and it was amazing. And like you'll have like as the guy like a certain superpower, and she'll have a different, like one can like become a giant or like a gnat or whatever, and you've got to like work the skulls together, and skulls change every level. Dude, it's a journey of a game, and so like these couch co-op games are freaking magical. And so I try to play one every Christmas. And if you haven't played that with your girlfriend, dude, I'd highly recommend it. It's a very cool game.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I mean, I'm looking for something cool like that. I was going to do some sort of Animal Crossing thing, but that sounds way better.
It Takes Two. It's very, very cool. Yeah. And so
okay.
There's that. There's also, did you play Baldur's Gate 3?
Dude, yeah. Man, I was lost in that for like a week. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, dude. Don't get me started on Baldur's Gate. Okay. So for those of you who don't know,
it's baldering their gate right now.
Dude, Baldur's Gate, do you remember Do you know what? It was the depth. Like, it was like, I think it was something like crazy that you could complete the campaign and only see 20% of the dialogue in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was freaking crazy. The voice actors went ham on that game. Like, they were like on overtime. Someone gave those guys 4 Red Bulls before they stepped into that recording studio, dude, because they were locked in, dude. It was crazy.
Was that like pre-AI too? They had to have used some AI to help generate some dialogue, because it was like, dude, I feel like that was like, maybe not, because like the game dev community, the art community is like really anti-AI, but like the depth of those trees, I like the conversation trees, I feel like you would have had to like labor, like a factory of thousands of people laboring for like months to do that.
It was crazy.
That was nuts, man.
I remember. Do you remember Balthazar and the guy who's like, he's got his mum on a shelf or something when he gets in the dungeon. Like his vocal range, I was like, this is crazy. And like, for those of you who haven't played it, it's kind of like a classic MMORPG where you have like you pick a character and you find other characters and your party gets bigger, but it's so much more than that. Like, the game's so responsive. I think I started a beef with this dragon lady thing at the beginning. I don't know what happened. I went into a local village with a load of goblins, and one started like giving me funny looks, and so I kind of like I stole something from his cart, an apple or something. Anyway, that led to him like throwing stuff at me, and then I'm at literal war with this clan after like 5 minutes. I'm like, I ended up getting like a 3-hour battle, Nick, with everybody, and then they all hated me after that, and I was like, damn, it has like really crazy consequences. So it's just freaking so sick, dude. I might replay that at some point.
Yeah, I know. Me too. That's cool. I don't think my girlfriend would like that in the slightest, though.
Dude,
to be honest.
Would she play that with you? Would she be down for that? Would she like join you in the co-op?
She'd like play with me for sure, but like I don't think she'd like enjoy it as much.
She won't get into the crazy storyline. It's a commitment. You can't casually play Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
Baldur's Gate.
Exactly. That's the thing.
It requires a lot of you. It's like, I was thinking a lot about this. Like Baldur's Gate is an example of something that is very creative, and I was reflecting on like the beginning of YouTube recently. That it used to be, because I found a video that I uploaded 13 years ago at university.
Damn.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was about a cat. And then I was interviewing someone about their drunken fresher experience. So that was cool.
That's cool.
And it does make you think, dude, if you created videos 13 years ago, how crazy would that have been? But initially, in the early eras of YouTube, it was all about your creative inspiration. It was about having a cool idea and just making it. And there's like people, is this question about, are people really making as many like videos that are creatively fulfilling now? Like, especially with that, AI generated content, like Most Correct was talking about this recently as well. I think is really interesting, like directionally, about the kind of like, I guess I would call it the soul of the content that doesn't fit on the topic or the packaging. I guess to some extent it's how you deliver the topics you talk about, but there's this kind of X factor with YouTube that people don't think about.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like 13 years ago, I feel like mine was probably like 10 years ago or 12 years. No, actually, it must have been actually like 17 years ago or something. Whenever YouTube like just came out, there was this guy called Tech Dog, which played this silly ass game called Line Rider. And it was the dumbest ass game ever. It was really fun, but he just like did art inside of the game. It was very, very interesting how he did it. He like would like construct these massive, beautiful things like Homer Simpson and a bunch of other things. And then like your little guy would ride the lines of the drawing, and it was amazing. And I remember just being like so like captivated by this thing, the fact that this guy like made this thing, and the production quality was really poor, and it was literally just like a shitty screen recording of the thing. But I mean, it was like massively viral and like took over the internet, or at least YouTube at that time. I wonder if it's because the search space has been so saturated now, and there's just like so many types of this that we've just commodified it all, or if maybe content like that is being created and we're just not seeing it because that stuff just is not like optimized for human attention. Because back then, like there were like 10,000 videos on the platform, right? You were going to see that. You're going to see everything. But nowadays, like, unless it's like hyper engineered with like hooks to keep you watching, we've habituated quite a bit, like heroin addicts to be like, no, like I only do fentanyl now, like heroin's too easy. It better be manufactured.
Dude, I think there's a funny thing about, I wonder if that is an attention hack to like call that out. Like I was talking to my girlfriend last night, and she said, you have a YouTube voice. Something on about a YouTube voice. And she goes like, I was like, actually, hang on a sec. If I think about it, like, when you send a WhatsApp voice note, you kind of like, you don't pause for a second, but it's like a thing. It's like I'm firing it out, and I wouldn't just go. I wouldn't like how I'd like roll out of bed and chat. It's like it's a thing, and I was like, actually, is that like, do I? And I had this like mini existential wonder last night. Like, do I have a YouTube thing? Like, do I? Okay, so for example, like if we were drinking like a beer or something, I'd be like, oh, dude, isn't it freaking crazy how blah blah blah? And I was like, would I do the same thing on YouTube? And so I went down this rabbit hole thinking about actually, do I like how you show up on YouTube? Because like initially, when you begin creating content, you probably emulate what you think the way to communicate on YouTube is, and then you go through this journey of finding your own voice of how you want to talk. But then it's like actually, I think the goal should be for it to be as much like it is actually talking to you as humanly possible. And so I was kind of wondering, I think if you do any degree of planning, like an intro, it's never going to be like I'm just chatting to Nick or Jack. But it's like it was just an interesting thought actually, and I'm thinking about that a little bit.
Yeah. Speaking of finding your own voice, I was looking at a bunch of different streamers and then streamer like clips and stuff, and seeing the way that they always start their videos, and it's always just a conversation. It's like, you would not believe this shit. Anyway, check this out, and then it's like,
yeah,
that's totally true. What I would do with my buddy, And those guys crush. So
they do.
I wonder if there's something in that. Proof, promise, plan, or whatever is obviously very systematic.
Picture
right?
and pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, it's like, okay, if you let's look at Moist Critical, right? He kind of like, the first 30 seconds is nothing to do with the video. He'll like yawn and go, all right, where are we at? What are we talking about? Oh yeah. And then he just goes straight into it, right? So there could also be like a pattern interrupt where it's so unusual that it's almost like, oh crap.
That's
because like there's like an unwritten agreement on YouTube that we know like you're gonna do the intro and then we kind of get into it. But that could want to experiment with actually, like funny intro.
Yeah, just really try that actually. Maybe we should try that. Try that in the pursuit of finding our own voice.
We've just engineered a strategy on it. Okay, I tell you, dude, I'm going to try two things. I'm going to do a video where it's going to be the intro is going to be nothing to do with the video. It's going to be a ramble about something, and I'll run into it. And then maybe we do one that's like just like, okay, you got to check this out, and just go straight into the video.
Dude, I'm gonna be like, so I was crushing elites in Halo the other day, and like I'm just to start with something completely stupid and unrelated. Please. I'm not gonna do that for my 10-hour course, Jack. Unfortunately, you're kind of funny.
I think I'd do that. Maybe that would be a bold and powerful move to do that.
Would be a bold and powerful move. We are quite bold and powerful over here. Some would say the most bold and.
Other people have been saying this. It's been out on the bat. Well, bro, we should probably actually, I think, add on to this. Is there anything crazy that's happened this week in the world of AI?
Just talk about video games for 15 minutes.
We had to cover the most important topics, right?
Damn,
which is the most essential thing.
It's probably like three dudes watching us left over. Yeah. What's the coolest thing that happened? Well, Anthropic gave away MCP to a foundation, like a third-party foundation.
Oh,
and a lot of people
cool.
took that to mean that MCP's dead, which is pretty funny.
It's gone to die.
Yeah. They've also published this really cool, not like a keynote, it's like a 20-minute talk by a couple of engineers, all about cloud skills. And about how like cloud skills are actually really fire, like you do a ton with cloud skills. Cloud skills is the same thing as like the framework that I made, essentially. It's just like a different way to pitch it, I would say, where you have like a skill.md file and you have resources within like specific folders and stuff. Just different way to organize the data. But I remember like going through that and being like, oh yeah, like people are really waking up. They're pushing this stuff out big time. Google built this AI studio. I believe they did so like the day of our last podcast, so we technically could have talked about it, but now it's like been validated. Their AI studio is like, I don't know, it's sort of like Zapier, to be honest. It's actually just like Zapier. It's just you build it using agents. The cool thing there is one of the biggest issues with AI, as we know, is context. And so if it's in your Google workspace, it just has full context. Everything that you could possibly need is just like, a little tool call away. It already knows who you are. It knows your emails. It like summarizes everything. And then like if it, you want it to take access in your workspace, it already has access. So you don't need keys. You don't need any OAuth. You don't need any of that. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Denver, they've been dropping. I do think the velocity of updates increasing a little bit. I think we're getting way more stuff that's happening a lot quicker.
Totally. People are getting bored of the updates too, which is funny. Everybody's not blasé. They're like, Google AI Studio. Like, but it's like, nah, man, this is one of those things where, like, if you take it seriously, you can absolutely automate most of your work. Like, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, whatever. I do completely get that. Do you? Here's an interesting theory here, actually, as well, about social strategy, which is kind of nothing to do with any of the AI we just spoke about, but
video games.
But yeah, so anyway, back on to Baldur's Gate. Enough of that nonsense. So it was like the basically, and it was like Iman Gadzi's funnel, right? So the game is, you're not creating believers on short form content. Short form content reminds people that you exist. It's about brand and kind of like awareness. It kind of tops up and say, hey, I'm still over here. Everything, all the trust is built on YouTube. The funnel is YouTube. I mean, obviously to your kind of business and stuff, but also, that's it. It's like you just push, like, all the awareness is on the short form piece of content, but all the trust is built on YouTube. So you push the shorts to YouTube. Iman then does YouTube videos to a big VSL that is also on YouTube, and then all it is ads or retargeting ads. And that's a whole conversion. That's a whole conversion strat. So I thought that was an interesting way to think about short form content and its purpose. That its job is to kind of remind people that you exist and kind of eventually take them to longer form content where you build relationships.
Yeah, it makes sense. Every piece of short form content is like a landing page that pushes you to convert to your long form in a way.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting philosophy. I know some people just all they do is short form and they convert and they sell on the DMs and they crush it with that. It's like we talked about, right? Different strategies work. It just depends on your philosophy.
That's true. Well, the guy makes more money than I do. At least I'm pretty confident he does. So he must know something.
We'll see. Well, I mean, this wasn't official. But I thought that was quite fascinating. Yeah, it's a lot to go into the funnel stuff. Like, dude, beautiful. Well, dude, on that note, then, shall we? Oh, dude, we should do a couple of questions, actually, to be fair. Do you want to, should we?
Oh, right. We haven't done those in quite a while.
Gosh,
sure.
Dude, yeah.
Let me grab our dashboard here. Let's do some Q&A.
Oh, let's do that.
We're almost at 1,000 subscribers on the pod.
We are 959. Oh, my goodness.
Incredible. Okay, here we go. Screen sharing coming right up. Y'all ready for this? Flawless production.
Dude, I was born ready to go.
Boom. Y'all seeing the community tab? Y'all seeing this?
Dude, yeah.
Check this out. Good. All right. I know you guys have different prices for your school community, says David, but they're still, in my opinion, very reasonable based on the value provided. Making an assumption with that content being great based on the YouTube content. Okay, so David is just assuming that the value in our communities is great. Well, that's quite the leap, my friend. But I've seen another educator in the space charging an insane upfront plus monthly, like 10K CAD upfront, then 300 CAD monthly. Why are we speaking in CAD here? To retain access to the content and have access to all the resources after 6 months. Per se, I bought the program like a year ago, but didn't continue the monthly subscription. It's great, but there's a bunch of fluff, like multiple 3-hour videos on LLM theory and the history of AI, the AI landscape, and so on and so forth, and other stuff. That's cool, but I mean, just get to the damn point already. Okay? Really cool guy, but yeah, anyway. My question is, why do you guys not charge anything upfront on top of the monthly amount for your school communities? You want to go first?
Well, for two reasons. I think reason number one is that, okay, from a business point of view, you're just trying to maximize lifetime value. And also, more importantly than that, like most amount of value delivered to the person over their lifetime. And I think having a big upfront cost would be prohibitive. And I don't think that you'd get net as much value to people. And I think your community wouldn't be as big or as fun. So, yeah. That's why. And just to give you a bit of technical detail on that as well, is that it's like markets are fractal. So 20% of your audience would pay you 5 times more. And that continues on and on. So you will get people that buy that, but then there'll be a whole subsect of people that would engage with your products if they were slightly cheaper, but they're not. What do you think, Nick?
Fair. I think it's just classic market differentiation. Like, if I want to charge $10,000 up front, I will build a product specifically catering to people that have that money and are willing to pay it. Why I don't charge 10K CAD up front for my maker school community? It's just because most beginners can't afford 10K. So I just price it what I think the market is capable and willing to pay. And that still takes into the value that I provide into account. If I charge it at 10K, I'd get 0 beginners in. Or maybe I get a few beginners, but I get beginners that are making like financially responsible decisions realistically. So I charge pretty low because like I'm trying to make it palatable to beginners. Yeah, I want beginners to be able to make those payments, to be honest. And when I have a bunch of beginners in the program that get success with the steps that I lay out, obviously that's very inspiring to other beginners. Helps break limiting beliefs, makes the community a much funner and more exciting place. So that's about it, to be honest. Everybody thinks that I've thought really deeply about the pricing. The reality is I'm just like, what can people afford? What's like, slightly out of reach so that they have to commit to it? By making that commitment, by putting sort of their intention on something, by actually putting down some sort of investment, they're a lot more likely to succeed. What's somewhat representative of the value that I provide over the course of, let's say, 6 to 12 months. That's just how I do it. How do you figure out where to move to? How did you move up from the city where you grew up to find new friends, gym, and in the end, what the WTF do you do in life?
Well, that's a very narrow question. You want to take this one first?
Yeah, sure. I did not do a ton of strategic thinking about it. I thought that me moving from my hometown was just most important for me. And so I just looked for, to be honest, like the next major metropolitan area that I thought had most of the amenities that I wanted, where I just knew very few people. And then I just moved. So that's what I did. Once I moved, I joined co-working spaces, which are essentially like mini offices. It's just shared offices, which are more affordable. I made it my mission to just meet everybody at the co-working space. So I met like 150 people in a couple of weeks. I was pretty cool, reasonable person to hang out with and know. I offered some value, so people invited me out to do things. I organized a couple of get-togethers, and then from there I had like a pretty strong social network. I go to the gym and then I say hey to the dude that's at the bench press to ask him if, his set is done soon. Like I just start conversations and eventually I build a network. It's just time, right? You just need time and you need to consistently show up somewhere. That's about it, to be honest.
Love that. I'd say like, a good framework for making decisions is just kind of 3 pillars of your health, your wealth, and your relationships. So figure all those 3 things out. If you find one location for too long, you're just stagnating. It depends on your age, right, and your commitments and stuff. But like it depends if you want to die where you were born. Because like one of my buddies had like the place he was born, the place he went to school, and the graveyard all within bird's view of his house. And he was like, I got to get out of here. So yeah, pretty much the one thing I would say is that like your enjoyment of a city, like as long as a city hits a certain threshold, like has coffee, has cool brunch, it's really what you bring to the city. There's no magical city you'll move to that'll solve all your problems. Like it's all about you as long as it hits threshold qualities, which is like most of them.
Yeah, Jack's barometer here really is just are there cool brunch places? At least one. If there are, honestly, I'm moving.
It's a top 2 thing. I can't see what the second criteria is, but that's the tough one.
Makes sense. Hey, I actually got to jet out of here, Jack, because I got a community call coming up. Why don't we do some more Q&A next time? I really like that. That's fun, and I think that brings a lot of additional value.
Cool, man. We'll do Halo Thursday, Friday.
Friday. Let's do it Friday. I'm 100% game Friday if you are. Hopefully I'm not interrupting a date night or something.